Dunn.
Alrighty. Hello, gang. Nice to be out. Wednesday night crowd. You know, just a little simmering domestic right there in the middle. That's a hard relate from me. I get that. It's nice to be out. I'm just turned 41. You know, a little bit of a cheer for that. Let me tell you something about my 40s. Least favorite decade so far, by far. Not enjoying it. I'm falling apart. You know, the real sense of downhillness. The other day, I sneezed and got a sharp pain in my hip. There was a time when I was younger, I could sneeze without fear. It was a happier time. And things just move on, you know. In 40s, your friends get weird. I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and he's telling me about his new addiction. He says he's in the throes of a Viagra addiction. I said, is that a real problem? He says, a lot of people don't realize how hard it can be. There you go. You know, it's what can happen. It's the wrong time to be getting older as well, because the NHS is on its knees. We got any heroes in? Not one, two. Well, thank you for your service. You know, we appreciate the work you do. You know, I found out that the NHS was in trouble a few years ago because my wife and I were having some fertility investigations, and she got the clean bill of health. So then the cold finger of medical suspicion started to direct itself at my testicles. I thought, you know, fair enough, you know, in that situation, I think I know what happens here. I'm going to be shepherded into a nice room, you know, warm lighting, you know, with maybe some charming, out-of-date, you know, NHS pornography, you know, like some 80s full bush stuff, I don't know exactly. You know, some pleasant, soft furnishings, wiped clean for necessary reasons. You know, that's what I was expecting. But I hate to be the one to break it to you guys, but they have shut the masturbatoriums. They didn't tell anyone, but they're gone. What happens is they tell you need to produce a sample at home, you know, working from home, very modern. But what I didn't like was they said you got to get the sample, pop it under your armpit, and get it to us within an hour. I live in Lewisham, St Guy's Hospital. It says the fastest route on Citymapper is 58 minutes. That's not an acceptable ask of people. This is why, you know, I think if they'd let us know they were shutting the masturbatoriums, they'd never have got away with it. I'd have been protesting outside. I'd have had a sign that would have said, you know, this masturbatorium was the lifeblood of the community. I'd have been writing letters to my MP. When will the wankers in government help the wankers in Lewisham? But it didn't, you know, but anyway, so long story short, I got the sample to the hospital, but fate did not shine upon me and my wife, and now we have 2 kids. It's, any parents in? Yeah, sort of your low, weary cries, and I understand that, you know, I get it. I got the 2 boys, 4 and 2, you know, I love those boys, but hate every single aspect of my life. It's tough out there. It's tough. You know, it's different. Being a dad is different from being a mum. I've noticed that is a distinct difference. You know, I can be out with the boys and I'll be in the supermarket and they'll be having an absolute meltdown. I'll just sort of be standing back, waiting it out, unsure what to do. And I will feel people, they'll look at me and they'll sort of smile encouragingly. You know, I can feel what they're sort of thinking. They'll look at this useless, pathetic sap of a dad. At least he's trying, you know, at least he's out, you know, and I soak up that pity. It's like energy to me. I enjoy it. But I know that my wife feels like when she goes out and experiences exactly the same situation and the boys are having a meltdown, she can feel people looking at her going, what a shit mum, unable to control her children. What an embarrassment. And when I think about that difference, you know, with sexes that are treated, the way they're treated differently, I think that is fair. Because when you think about it, like being an involved dad, that's a new thing. That's probably coming after Facebook. Whereas women have been doing full-on parenting for thousands of years. There's a lot of tacit knowledge passed from grandmother to mother to daughter, mother to daughter, mother to daughter. I can't ask my dad. He was barely involved, and a lot of the techniques he did employ are no longer considered legal. I gotta say, what would you do when we were melting down in the supermarket? He would look at me confused and be like, why didn't you leave him in the car? Just leave him in the car. Crack a window, you know? That's all right. My older boy, he's 4 and he's non-speaking autistic. Yeah, so people sometimes don't know how to react to that. Sometimes people are like, oh, that's a shame. And you don't want anyone's kind of pity for that. You know, you just like, everyone is on their own unique parenting journey. You don't know where it's going to end up. Maybe you're going to be at the FA Cup final watching your son score the winning goal. Or maybe you end up in a courtroom listening to victim statements from the families of people they've killed. You know, either way, you just got to be there to support them, you know? You do what you love. You know, you'll always have a room at home, son. Whether it's this weekend or in 15 to 20. We'll be there. But there are upsides to having a special needs child. One being that the government gives you money. You know, it shouldn't really make a difference, the money, but you know, it does. I see other people's 4-year-olds speaking in full, complete sentences, and I do think you're not going to get much for that. There's nothing coming back for that. And you know, and I do think when that £25 hits my bank account quarterly, thank you, welfare state. I feel the pride a Victorian father must have felt when he watched his little urchin emerge from a sooty fireplace. You know, he's making a contribution to the household, and that's good. And my second boy he's neurotypical, or as I think of him, 100% cost. He is, but he has his. He causes me problems as well. Like I had to pick him up from nursery a while ago, and I got in there, and the staff were like, "We need to speak to you," and they kind of usher you away from the other parents, and they said, "Oh, really sorry, but we need to tell you, Archie's been hitting some of the other children." So then I've really got to do some of my best acting surprised. Oh no! My gentle, sweet boy! I can't believe it. I felt like one of those Premier League managers who comes out to do an interview after a player's been sent off, and he's like, honestly, he's not that kind of player. Where deep down he knows that he's exactly that kind of player, and it's actually a very big part of his game. Because I see him in the play parks, and he is, quick with his hands. He gets up. I'm kind of less. I feel the kids need to just kind of work it out amongst themselves, really. I don't like to get too involved, because we all know that hitters are not top of the toddler food chain. Biters are. So I was like, one day, it's going to be fine. So another time when I went back to nursery, and they called me back into the little room again, and this time they were much more apologetic. And they said, we got to, Archie's had a thing, and they showed me his arm, and there was a big bite mark in it. And I thought, jackpot. There's an apex predator in the yellow butterfly room. My problems are solved. But what I didn't account for was the concept of intellectual contagion. Archie's a biter now. He's got the bite strength of a police Alsatian. He You could rip the throat out of a live chicken. I think that is actually my time. Thank you very much, guys. You've been a delight.